G'day folks, well this is the tutorial video for a 4x4x6. Now it is raining at my house at the moment. It has been raining for quite a while and I do not have the ability yet to stop it raining at will. So if you do hear a little bit of extra static or sound, that's probably what it is. Alright, now this is a 4x4x6 fully shape shifted, or as best as I can get it done, which is pretty good. And the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to return it to cuboid form. There's a couple of different ways you could approach this, but I'm just going to return it to cuboid generally as fast as I can, but at the same time I'm going to get those centers done first. So I'm going to do the centers, put them in the correct places, and then get it to cuboid shape. So with this one, the orange and the red stickers are the ones that stick up. So I might start here. And by the way, if you've just got one of these and you don't even know where to start, if you turn one of the faces, you begin to see the kinds of moves that the pieces do. So I see, for example, that these four pieces here, they rotate around that place, whereas this one here goes in a much wider arc. So on a 4x4 there is no fixed center, and so just to demonstrate that, if I looked at this one and I turned this cube, you'd see that the centerpiece just actually stays in place. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, to go, what are the centers? And so these four pieces must be the centers. So I've got two reds here, so I'm going to call that my red face. And find another two reds. There's one of them. It looks like this is another one. So initially, and this is just making centers pretty much as you would do for a 4x4x4 cube. So I've got those reds in. I've got to put some oranges in now. So I've got one opposite. So I'll just turn this other one up, and that's dragged out the red. So I can then just turn that face. Did I put the right one back? I did. Now there's an orange here and an orange here, so I've got to bring those last two oranges together. And I mentioned that it's just like a 4x4 centers, because if you haven't done a 4x4 you're going to struggle with this. So I'd recommend looking at that one first. So at this point I've got the two opposite colour centers in. Now I can just get any center I want here before I look at the corners. It doesn't matter which one. I've got a couple of greens and a couple of whites. Why don't I get the whites done? So if I'm going to get those whites done, I'll bring the second white there and put it into that position. Now I need to, because there is no fixed center, I need to look at the corners, and I see that, let's find a corner with a white and an orange. There we go, there's one. Orange, green, white. So if I go anti-clockwise around that corner, orange, green, white. So I'll hold it with the orange at the top, the white's there, which tells me this must be green. So that would be the next center that I do. I'll bring those greens together, and this time, because I've already made the whites, I just need to constantly put back those centers. Where were those? There they are. Now, instead of just putting the greens here and bringing them down, which would push out that white center, I need to push out the green centers on the face, turn that face, and bring back those green centers. This next one must be yellow, so I will bring together a couple of yellows. And what can we do? Finally, we can... Alright, that's all the centers. Now, I'm just going quite quickly through that because, as I say, it's assumed that you can solve a 4x4x4. Alright, well, with the next part of returning this to cuboid form, you'll notice that there are edge pieces, and again the edge pieces are the pieces that kind of are adjacent to the centers. So for example, this piece here, they're edge pieces, and you'll straight away see there's different kinds. There's this shorter one and there's this one which is joined to that part there. I just want to match the types of edge pieces. I don't even care about getting a match like that, just the types. So for example, I might bring this piece here up to match this other one. That's just a fluke that they completely match. And then I've moved the centers out of position, so I bring them together and I want to replace them in that position with another edge that's not yet done, like these here. These are two unmatched edges, so what I can do is basically turn those edges off, put the unmatched edges there, and return, and you'll see the centers come back, and when I turn them back, all of those centers are done, and the edges that I just matched should be somewhere. I don't even know where they've gone. Where have they gone? that must be them because that's what I matched. Now I just want to keep doing that with the remaining pieces. So here's oh no, that doesn't match there. What about, yeah, is that gonna, no, that's not gonna look good. Or is it? No, it's not. Talking to myself again, that one maybe. No, same issue. Okay. Let's be a little more systematic here. I'm going to match that one there, and I always try to match the larger pieces first. Now that, no, I need that one to be sticking up like that one, so let's find another one that is sticking up. How about that one? There we go. So I've got an unmatched pair here and an unmatched pair here. So I'm now going to bring those two together, and you can see they're matched. So now I can take them off, perhaps replace them with this one here. So I can turn them off, put that new one on, bring that down, then return my centres. Let's see how I'm going. There's an unmatched pair. Looks like that's another unmatched pair, so I might line them up first. If I can. Yep, that's going to look good. And looks like there's a piece over here that I can use. And is that the last? It looks like that's the last piece. Just turn it around like this. So I've got this, this, and this. These are my three last unmatched pairs. And so what I want to do, I'm going to turn this one up to here, and I note that this is a small flatter piece. So I want to make sure that I bring this last piece into here so that the small flatter piece is on the left. And I'll turn that on like that so that this ends up on the left. Then when I return the centres, that will remake. Now what's happened here? Was there another one perhaps that I didn't see? Don't know. I will just keep going as if nothing happened. Pretend it was a dream. That's going to match to that. Let's have a look. Have I got another one here? No, I don't. So in this case, because I want to match this one over here, again I'll just do the same thing, and now what's going to happen is I want to bring back to this one a similar small piece, and so when I replace this one, this matched pair, I'm going to replace it with this pair here. So we'll just turn that around and bring it in. And what I should see is that when I return my centres, these match up, and then those other ones over there match up. Okay, good. So those centre, well, the edges there, the types of edges are matched. Now my next thing is to place the edges not in position, just in the right structural position. So for example, this is my red centre, so I'm just going to grab any orange or red piece and I'll place this pair up into, say, there's already got a bit there, it's already got a bit there, into one of these areas. So to do that, initially I can just turn that up like that, find another one, there's the fourth one. So I've made those four edges around there, and then do the same thing on this side. Now this side I can't just turn it up because it'll take it out of there, so I basically want to turn it up, turn this top face around so that I can turn this back down into the centre. I'll do the same thing with this one, turn it up, replace it with this centre, and the last one I'll turn this one up to here and replace it with this centre. And straight away you'll see that's looking a lot more cuboid-ish. Alright, at this point you're going to have these corners sticking out, and sometimes you'll get them so they're really nicely lined up together, and sometimes you won't, like this time. And what I'm essentially trying to do is flatten these corners, and so I'm going to use the corner piece series for cuboids, which I'm going to use all the way through this solve. So this is just one iteration of the same thing over and over again. Now with that corner piece series for cuboids, what I'm looking for is essentially, I'm just looking if I've got another cuboid handy. I don't think I have. No, I don't. Okay, so I'll have to make do. I'll do it on this cube because that will demonstrate exactly what's going on. I'm going to do an up turn and then right 2, up prime, left 2, and repeat that. Now when we do it on a cube, you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3 pieces that are involved. Those 3 pieces will be involved on a cuboid, but the corners will flatten it down. So on this one here, this piece on the bottom, I'll do the mirror, this will flatten down across to that position. So it will turn like that into that position and become flat. So that's good, but essentially what I'm really looking for is a couple of pieces where the other one is sticking up here. Now if I can't get that, as in this scenario here, what I'm going to do initially is have to turn one of the others around so that I have, let's say like that. I'm going to turn this around so that this corner is in a position to come down and place correctly to there, because this will roll down like that. You can see the corner will place correctly. So let's go carry out that mirror first of all. It'll involve these 3 corners. This will come out, but hopefully it'll give us a better setup. So the mirror of that corner piece series for cuboids, an up prime, then left 2, up, right 2, and repeat that. Now having done that, I'm going to turn back this, and you'll see I did have 3 out of position. I've now got 2, which is obviously better. And the beauty of this is that with these 2 I can simply turn that up because I don't care 2 hoots about any of the colourings here. I just want to match these 2, and so now I've got it exactly where I want it. So I'm going to do what I showed on the cube initially. This piece will roll down to that position, this piece will roll across to there, and this third one will go up correctly into that initial piece's position. I'm going to do the normal corner piece series starting with a U turn for cuboids. So an up turn, right 2, up prime, left 2, and repeat. And I don't even have to do the last bit, I'll do it anyway. You can see we are now back to cuboid form. Now the beauty of this is that now that we're in cuboid form, things just become a lot easier to turn and deal with stuff. And we really shouldn't, unless I'm forgetting something major, need to go out of cuboid form again. So at this point it's in cuboid form, and what I want to do now, you'll notice the centers are still done and they're in their correct locations. What I want to do is start making these edges. So I'm just going to build the edges up. I'm ignoring all of these pieces on the side and I'm just concentrating on that sort of framework there. And I'm not interested in matching yet the whites with whites. All I'm interested in doing is getting a pair in that second layer and a pair here. So this green blue is not yet done. How am I going to do that? Well, I'll have a look on the back. You can see there's a blue here on the right, and on the back there's a blue at the top left. And if I turn, let's do it, so I'll just keep the cube still. Turn that blue there. I have matched up my blue pair. I've undone the centers, but that can be put back in a minute. Now I want to take that matched blue pair off onto a side face and replace it with another unmatched pair. So to do that, just turn those bottom 2 slices across to there. I'll turn the face so I can replace it with the white green, and then turn that back. Now once I return my centers, they'll all be back, and you'll see there's that blue pair that I just made. I just want to keep doing that. I've got a white blue here, and I can see I've got a white blue over this side. So this time if I now turn it, I'll match those 2 blues. I can replace it with, say, this yellow white over here. So I'll turn that down to the bottom, turn my matched pair off to the side, and now replace it with that yellow white. Return my centers. And you can see now that I've only got the white yellow and the white yellow, so I'll turn those around to the back. Now this is a little bit different, not much, only that you'll notice I've only got 2 left. I've only got the white yellow and this white yellow here. So I'm going to bring the whites together. Now this piece, when I return my centers, is going to go back to that position next to a yellow, which tells me that I need to use a yellow pair as my replacement pair. So I'll bring that up. There's a yellow pair over there. So I'm going to turn that off, replace it with that yellow pair, bring that in. Now I'll return the centers, and you'll see on the front it's that yellow pair, and on the back it's also the yellow pair. So now that I look around, all those pairs have been made. My next step is to just go and place them. So for example, I can see these are whites, so I'm going to, very simple moves, just go and replace that blue or whatever piece it was with that white piece. That's done. This is green. I can get a green into there. There's another green here. These are yellows, so I can do that final yellow piece, and clearly once I've done 3 of them, the 4th must be done as well. So I've now got, instead of just the center pieces, I've got the other 2 above them as well. Now I'm going to do precisely the same thing for the top and the bottom layer. So that's a pair, that's already done. What else can I see? Something obvious. There's a blue-red. I see another blue-red there was. So there's 2 blue-reds here, so I want to put them opposite each other. So I'm going to turn now just the outer layers, because I've already done these second layers. That blue-red, I want to bring that up to be next to this blue-red here on the back. And then there's the pair that I've made. I want to replace that with an unmade pair. Can I find an unmade pair? Yep, there's one, there's another one there. So I'll turn that off onto the left face, replace it with an unmade pair, and then return my centers, and you'll see that that red-blue pair is done. I've got a blue-orange here. What else have I got? There's another blue-orange, so we'll do the same thing, put that at the back, and I'll do it this way. Now, I've actually just noticed there that everything, I'll just keep doing that as I was going. This is one thing that can happen with this. I've got an orange-white, and an orange-white, and a blue-orange, and a blue-orange. So I really have a swap of 2 pieces. Everything else is done. All the other ones are paired. Now this is one time where I am going to need to take it out of cuboid form. I knew there was some little time, only very briefly. And the reason for that is that if I bring them together, I'm going to do the orange-white pair and the orange-blue pair, but I have suddenly messed up the red-yellow and the red-white. And I really need 3 pieces, or 3 pairs involved to finish them off. And so because that's where the problem is across these layers, what I want to do is turn those layers 1 turn, just like that. Now, having done that, I now want to go ahead and remake the centers. So to do that, and this is again just like remaking a 4x4 center, going to turn the orange off, bring down that blue, turn the new orange on and put it back. That's the orange. Now, next one, I've actually just got to get my bearings as to what centers go where. That's orange, that's white on the right, which means this should be green on the left. So I want to turn that off, bring it to position around, remake the green. This will have to be red. Okay, remake the red. So the whole purpose of that is returning those centers. You'll notice now that I just have these sort of wings hanging out, and I'm going to fix this just like I did before when I was flattening and bringing it back to cuboid shape. Now because these, now I want this to flatten over here, so effectively I want it to turn like that, and I'm using those bottom 2 slices. It means when I do my upper turn it needs to be both of these slices, but it's exactly the same routine. Up, right 2, up prime, left 2, and repeat. Okay, that's done. It's back to cuboid form. You might say, what have we accomplished? Well, the first thing that we've got to do is just refix any of these inner sort of pieces here. So let's have a think. Now probably easiest to keep the centers as they are and just go ahead and refix the green and the blue. So I'm going to turn that around. All the other stuff is done, so I'm going to use this across the side here. as my third piece, and I can see that if I bring those greens together, I can replace them with this piece initially. Return centers. Now I've got blue, green, blue, green. What have I got on the back? Nothing, so that just means I'll turn one of them around to the back, bring that up, and I'll just actually think, where did that come from? Next to a green, so that means I want to replace it again with this green piece. That's done. Return centers. Okay, we're back to there. I can go ahead and remake these central parts here, like so, and then go ahead and just remake any of these outer edges, which is what we were on before. And you remember that I had a swap. I only had 2 of these things that needed to match. Now I've got the 3, and so I can, let's just double check that. Yep, so I can just turn perhaps one of these off onto the side as my third piece and just see what's going to line up. Yeah, it looks like the blue oranges. So I can bring the blue oranges together. Because I've got the third piece over here, and that's the only piece left, I don't need to think about which way it's going to orient, I should say. I just turn it off, replace it with that third piece, bring it back, and return centers. Now what we'll see is that all of these outer pairs have now been paired up. And again, just like we did for this part, it's now time to place them. So if this is my red center, I can just initially turn that in. There's my red white. I've got a red blue around to there. Now what I normally do is do 3 of them and then just use this one to get the ones on the top placed. So you can see the orange blue's already in place. I want to get the orange yellow over to there, and so just I'll turn it there for a setup, and I want to move it to that position. I want to 3 cycle these edges, so that to there to there. And then I'll turn back the orange blue. Remember I did a setup. That puts that orange yellow back where it was. What does that leave me? That will leave me either with a nice 3 cycle to finish with, or in this case I've got a swap of these 2 edges. That's no problem. All I need to do is turn the edges 1 turn, turn that face 1 turn, and what you'll see that's done is place the orange green, and now I have a 3 cycle of edges here. And so I just want to go ahead and replace that orange blue into that position, and then replace the orange yellow into that position. So I can happily do it, by the way, just by saying, well, let's just 3 cycle these. I'll get the orange white underneath this blue, 3 cycle those pieces like that. And when that's done, undo these setup moves that I had. And what we'll see at the end of that point is that we've really got a cage going on there. All of those edges are completely done. Now the next main stage is obviously to do the outer, to reduce these corner bits. So what I treat it as though is that this is done. And what I'm trying to do is attach this piece and this piece to make a single reduced piece there. I'm going to use the corner piece series for cuboids, of course. Now initially what I'm trying to do is find a piece like this green white on the second layer, which will roll across underneath there. So you can see that if I just roll those 2 bottom layers, that rolls across to there. And in fact so does that, but just ignore that bottom piece because I don't care about that yet. Now as soon as I have that, you'll remember when we were flattening the cuboid that the piece movement went from here to here. This one went up to the back and this one came down to the front. Because of that, I know that I'm going to get the green white in there. I'd also love to be able to get the yellow blue into that position. And I can do that if I can place the yellow blue in that back position. So let's just see if it's up the top. It's not up the top. Sometimes it's possible to turn it up the top. I reckon that is the piece there. So I can do a setup of my back face. Let's see if that actually puts it there. That puts a yellow blue there, but it is the wrong yellow blue. So that is not the one that I want. It's in fact, yeah, it's actually that. Is it that yellow blue there? No, where is the other one? Must be this one. Okay, this yellow-blue is over here. It's in the wrong position, so I'll ignore that for now and just concentrate on placing that green-white to there. So what do? I do just turning the upper two slices now. Up, right two, up prime, left two, and repeat. And what you'll see is that that green-white and the second layer has attached to that green-white again. Ignore that, as I said, it's a fluke. I'll take it and it's good, but ignore it for now. I'm looking for another one that will roll across into its position. Nothing, oh yes, there we go. Yellow-blue, the yellow-blue on the second layer will go and attach to there. So if that's the case, this is the white-blue. So I'd like to have, if I can, the white-blue piece, there it is, it's at the back, the white-blue piece into this position. So I'm just going to do a setup. When I do a setup, I want to turn the whole of those three layers. I've now got this white-blue piece, which you can see is there, and it's in the second layer. So when I say the second layer, I mean either the top or the bottom. So that is going to come down to here. Now you might be wondering, how do I know that that's the correct white-blue? The way I remember it is that the colour on the side has to match that colour. If that colour matches, it's the correct one, because it rolls down like that. So now that it's there, I can carry out my corner piece series for cuboids again. And that's matched, that's matched. I actually don't really need to turn these back, but I personally like to do it just to keep everything looking good. So I've got one on the top here. What have I got? That one's done. We've got a blue-white here that needs to roll across to there. So as long as I have a piece up here, that's good enough for me at the moment. So this time we're doing the mirror of the corner piece series for cuboid. So it's an up prime, left two, up, right two, just of course turning the top two layers. Okay, that one's in. I've got one. That one's done, that one's done, that one's done, that one's done. Must have two left. One there, and one there. Okay. Alrighty, cool. Now, once again, you can see that we have a swap. So the blue-yellow needs to go there, the yellow-green needs to come back here. Now, it does not matter where the swap is, as long as the second piece could be there, it could be here, wherever. If it's a swap, and you can see the problem is between these two layers, and so what that means is I need to break those two layers and then remake the centers. So here I go. And what you can see that's happening is every time I'm going, how do I get that yellow back into there? Well, I turn this face first. Now I push out that yellow, turn the yellow face and bring back the one I pushed out, like that, and that leads me on to the next one. So push out that blue, bring it back, those centers are returned. Just for good measure, I might return that whole face there so the whole cage is done. I don't think that's necessary, but I'll do it anyway. Now I just go and re-solve these things, and I'll find that when I do, I'll be left with three. So I'll forward through that. Alright, now you may remember that we started this off having a problem between these two layers where there was a swap of two pieces. Now I've got one here, two, three, and all the rest are done. So I've got myself a 3 cycle. So now it's just a matter of lining these pieces up so that I can, which one's going to go where? Yep, the green one, the green white is going to go to there. So I just need to get that third piece, which you can see is here, around to that back position, and it must line up. You can see the white of the white green there is going to come down to here. Carry out that final move. Okay, so all of those second and third layer pieces are now joined. Guess what I do now? Exactly the same thing for the outer layer to put the corners on. So I'm looking to end up like that. I do precisely the same thing. except that this time when I'm turning my upper face, I only turn the actual upper face, not those two. So again, it's just a matter of searching for something that's going to roll initially. What have we got? Yeah, that white blue will roll across to the left here, so I might see if I can place the other blue white at the same time, and don't think I can, so I'll just use that there. Okay, so that one is the one that I just tried to do and did. Got another white blue here across to there, so let's see if we can get the green yellow. Yep, that yellow is the yellow green. That's ready to attach to there as well. Alright, what do we got? That's done, one there. That's done, one there, that's two, that's done, and one there, that's three. Now, I've got a 3-cycle, but if I had a swap just like the second one, what I would do is the problem would be between these two layers, so I would break. In fact, you know what, I'm going to set up for that. Okay, well we can see that on the bottom here, I've got one piece there and I've got another piece there, they need to swap. And it doesn't matter if they're on the bottom or the top or what, but the relationship is between these two layers here, and that needs to be broken. Now before I do go ahead and break it, I like to get the edges and the cage back into its correct sort of configuration. So I'm going to do that and make sure that my centers are correct. Orange, white, blue. Can I find an orange, white, blue piece? I can. Orange, white, blue. So that looks good. White, blue, yellow, green. Okay, so those cages are done. Now I just want to go and turn the upper face one turn. Now my task here, because I've now fixed the corner problem, but I've got a 4-cycle of edges which I need to now fix. And so I'm going to firstly do a 3-cycle of the orange yellow, the orange green and this orange white. In order to get the 3-cycle happening, I need the orange white underneath the orange green. So as a setup, I'm going to put it there, just like that. Now I'll carry out my 3-cycle. That's done, and then undo the setup that I did. The corners are still good, the cage is back, and you can see the orange yellow is placed, the orange green is placed. Now I've got the orange blue and the orange white, and here's a great reason why I like to get the cage back done again. I need to swap these two pieces. So I'm just going to place the orange white underneath the orange blue. Now when I swap those pieces, you'll notice that everything inside stays as it is. And so I'll turn that back, and I've now succeeded in getting all the edges back into their position, and the corners will be correctly in a correctly cyclable position, so there'll really be 3 cycles. So now my task is just to go through and continue redoing those corners. So the yellow blue here, that's a blue white. Can I deal with that? I reckon I can. That's done. That one there, and that one there. You'll see we're now down to a 3 cycle. So I can just set these up, and the blue yellow, where's that going to go? No, the white green will go across to here. So my third piece needs to go around to there to cycle to that position. So 1, 2, 3, and again just turning the upper layer. There we go, and you'll see now that all of the corners have been reduced. At this point, the task is simply to go and solve it as though it was a 3 by 3 by 2. So we're just about done. The cage is still there, all the edges are in. It's just a matter of solving those corners and placing those reduced corners now. You'll never guess what I'm going to use. Maybe you will. It's the corner piece series for cuboids, and so let's have a look. I've got, what can I do? A red, blue, yellow, which belongs in that position. So what I might do is set it up around to the back there so it can come down to here. There's my 3 pieces. This time, because I'm placing the reduced corners, I need to turn my upper face needs to be the entire upper 3 layers as my U. Okay, that's done. Let's return these things. And what do we see? 1, 2, 3 left to go. But of course, as per usual, it is possible to end up with 2, and I'd like to set up for that now. Alright, and here we see that it is indeed possible to get a swap of 2 corners at the end, just like on a 3x3x2. It's perfectly possible to get a swap of 2 corners at the end. The good news about all this is that the way to fix it is exactly the same. We say, where's the break in the relationship? Well, if you imagine that as a corner and that as another corner, the problem is between these 2 layers. So what we need to do again is break those 2 layers by turning the puzzle, or the upper half of the puzzle, 1 turn. Okay, that's fixed the corners. Now we've got to get the edges back. How do we do that? The same way that we did previously. We're firstly going to 3 cycle these 3 pieces. So I get that one underneath and carry out the 3 cycle. It's really good while you're doing this to hold the puzzle in the same location. So this has always been my front face, and I'll undo those setups. Now I can see that the red-white has been put back and the red-green has been put back. Now I can turn it around and note that I now have a swap of the red-blue and the red-yellow. Once again, I want to put the red-yellow underneath the red-blue. And just like a 3x3x2, there's no sort of central pieces in there to worry about, so I can just do that turn, put that back, and all of my edges are back while my corners are in a nice 3-cycle-y sort of relationship. So what have I got? That one, and you can see 1 left, that one there. So it definitely has returned that to a 3-cycle. So how would I go about dealing with this? This looks like a bit of a pain in the neck one actually. So what I'll do, a couple of setup moves. The first one, turn the upper face and then bring this corner at the back. You can see that corner's not yet done. Bring that around to the front. So these 2 are now not quite done. What have I got? That green-yellow needs to go to this position. Therefore, the 3rd corner, which is here, needs to be turned back to the back left position. So I just remember I did a left 2 and an up 2. If I undo them, I can figure out the last one on my own. So now I complete with the final 3 cycle. Okay, so it was an up 2 for the undoing the setups, then a left 2, and clearly now you can see, yep, that just turns back like that. And this 4x4x6 has been successfully solved. As I said, that is one method that you can use. It's the method that I use at the moment. And what I really like about it is that it's basically the same algorithm over and over again. It's such a simple algorithm. I've covered in this all the cases that you'll run into using this method. I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.